thing. We know he says he's Indigenous, even though he's not. We know he stole from Indigenous Canadians. We know he said he wasn't involved in the company when he was in cabinet, but he was.
Why is the leader of the opposition silencing his members of parliament? Why won't he allow his members of parliament to speak on behalf of their constituents and advocate for their communities?
Liberals like Jody Wilson-Raybould, who called it, quote, so shameful and extremely destructive. The Prime Minister fires the first Indigenous Attorney General, but keeps the first fake Indigenous Employment Minister.
Did you hear about the explosive showdown in Parliament? Melissa Lantsman just dropped a truth bomb that left Trudeau and his cronies scrambling for cover. In this video, we're breaking down how one fearless Conservative MP exposed a web of lies and corruption that goes all the way to the top. You won't believe what happens next. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video. Randy Boissonnault's carefully constructed image is falling apart. New evidence has come to light that's shattering everything we thought we knew about this Liberal minister. Let's rewind. Boissonnault had long claimed deep Indigenous roots and successful business ventures. He painted himself as a proud Métis entrepreneur, using his heritage and business acumen to win favor with voters and climb the political ladder.
Well, we don't know what it'll take for this guy to get fired from this Prime Minister. We do know what will get you fired. Remember Jody Wilson-Raybould? Yeah. She was fired for telling the truth about the Prime Minister's attempts to interfere in a criminal case. Ouch. How come under this Prime Minister, a strong Indigenous woman gets fired for telling the truth when a weak, fake Indigenous man gets to keep his job after lying? A Prime Minister committed to true reconciliation would have removed this minister and the other Randy from cabinet long ago. Instead, we get to watch white people play Ancestry Wheel of Fortune.
But it was all smoke and mirrors. Melissa Lantsman and her team started digging, and what they found was shocking. Documents surfaced showing Boissonnault's Indigenous claims were paper-thin at best. Family records going back generations revealed no concrete evidence of Indigenous ancestry, yet he continued to tout his Métis identity even as the questions mounted. But that's not all. Boissonnault's business credentials started unraveling too. Companies he claimed to have founded and led turned out to be little more than shell corporations. Financial records showed minimal activity, raising serious questions about his so-called entrepreneurial success. As the evidence piled up, Boissonnault's story kept changing. First, he doubled down, insisting his Indigenous heritage was real. Then he backpedaled, saying he'd simply repeated family lore.
Watching the impact of these failed policies on housing, the Prime Minister said, that's my guy for housing. Why did the Prime Minister promote this guy instead of firing him?
They focus these days on caucus unity. I would actually point out she sits just a few seats down from a colleague who just a few years ago she criticized for casting aspersions on the LGBTQ2+ community.
And is now laughably in charge of fueling the housing crisis that the Prime Minister created. The Prime Minister can't possibly fix housing or immigration or anything else because he's fighting his own caucus. So if the Prime Minister won't fire this guy, will he resign in disgrace?
On the business front, he tried to reframe his involvement as advisory roles rather than leadership positions. But the real bombshell came in the form of leaked text messages. In these private conversations, Boissonnault admitted to colleagues that he'd stretched the truth about his background to advance his career. He even joked about how easy it was to claim Indigenous status without any proof. The full extent of Boissonnault's deception is still coming to light, but one thing is clear. The man who presented himself as a minority business leader is nothing of the sort. His Indigenous claims have been thoroughly debunked, and his business success appears to be largely fictional. This scandal isn't just about one man's lies. It's sending shockwaves through Trudeau's entire government.
The former immigration minister and the MP from Central Nova oversaw population growth in this country of 200% over the past several years. He lost track of the people that he let in.
We are doing everything we can to build more affordable housing. When their leader was actually in the position of housing minister, he got six affordable housing units built across the entire country. We're going to focus on what matters to Canadians, not the distractions. They're trying to take credit for the number of homes that Canadians built. But Mr. Speaker, here's the kicker, and I've got news. That number, if we accept it as the right metric, is the worst record of any housing minister in the last 10 years.
How did someone with such a fabricated background rise so high in Liberal ranks? And what does this say about their vetting process and commitment to truth? Just when the Liberals thought they could contain the Boissonnault disaster, Melissa Lantsman steps into the spotlight. This conservative powerhouse is armed with damning evidence and razor-sharp questions. The House of Commons is about to witness a political showdown that will make question period look like a friendly chat. Lantsman, a fierce critic of the Liberal government, has emerged as the unexpected hero in this unfolding drama. Her relentless pursuit of the truth has turned what could have been a minor scandal into a full-blown crisis for Trudeau's team. But make no mistake, the Liberals aren't going down without a fight. As Lantsman dug deeper into Boissonneau's background, she faced intense pushback from Liberal ministers. They tried to brush off her allegations as mere falsehoods and accused the Conservatives of derailing important House business. But Lantsman wasn't about to back down. In a series of explosive parliamentary sessions, Lantsman cornered Boissonneau with questions that left him squirming. She demanded to know why his business partners had suddenly vanished into thin air. Will the minister stand up, wave his magic wand, and tell his business partners to show up? Lantsman challenged, exposing the holes in Boissonneau's story for all to see. The Liberals tried every trick in the book to deflect Lantsman's attack. They questioned her motives, accused her of foreign interference, and even tried to change the subject to the war in Ukraine. But Lantsman kept her focus laser-sharp, refusing to let Boissonneau off the hook. With each passing day, Lantsman's revelations grew more damaging. She uncovered document after document that contradicted Boissonneau's claims, forcing the Liberals into an increasingly desperate defensive position. The once confident minister found himself struggling to explain away the mounting evidence against him. Lantsman's efforts have resonated far beyond partisan lines. Indigenous leaders have voiced their support for her stance, recognizing the importance of exposing false claims of heritage. This groundswell of backing has only added fuel to Lantsman's crusade for truth. As the scandal continues to unfold, one thing is clear: Melissa Lantsman has forced Trudeau's government into a corner. The Liberals can no longer dismiss these allegations as a minor issue. With each new revelation, the cracks in their carefully crafted image grow wider.
Worse, he saw international students living in homeless shelters or with 14 roommates in a basement, all while he ignored his department's advice on it was too much and too fast.
Mr. Speaker, my feelings. Look, they're going to be disappointed to know that I spend no time or energy thinking about the insults they hurl at me. What concerns me is the insults that they hurl at Canadians.
From Surrey, BC, quote, the federal handgun freeze fails to address the real issue, which is the surge of illegal firearms coming across our border, ending up in the hands of violent criminals.
The question now is, how much more will Lantsman uncover? And can Trudeau's team survive the fallout? The Boissonneau scandal has turned into a political earthquake, shaking Trudeau's government to its core. Melissa Lantsman's relentless pursuit of the truth exposed a web of lies that goes beyond one man's deception. This isn't just about false Indigenous claims or inflated business credentials. It's about the integrity of our entire political system. Trudeau's leadership is now under intense scrutiny. How did someone like Boissonneau rise so high in Liberal ranks? The implications for Indigenous relations are massive. This scandal threatens to undo years of reconciliation efforts, leaving Indigenous communities questioning the government's sincerity.
But here's the real kicker. This might be just the tip of the iceberg. Who knows what other skeletons are hiding in Liberal closets? It's up to us, the voters, to keep the pressure on. We can't let them sweep this under the rug. Stay informed, spread the word, and demand answers. The future of our country depends on it.